my name is Andy Weir, and today I'm going to talk to you about The Martian by Andy Weir. I am recommending this book to every single person watching this video. I'm recommending it to every person on the planet, anyone that could read English or whatever translation of this book exists. If you like science fiction, if you like anything about science, if you just like a good story, read this book. I have recommended this to every single one of my friends. I'm making my parents go see the movie with me. I'm making my friends go see the movie with me. Like, I'm going to see it several times. I have a feeling that this is going to be one of my favorite movies. This is definitely one of my favorite books, like top 5 favorite books. It's so good. I heard so much hype about it. I was like, alright, what is this? I bought it. I read it. It's amazing. It's so good. I can't even properly articulate how amazing I thought this book was. So for those of you that don't know what The Martian is, it's about an astronaut named Mark Watney, and he gets stranded on Mars basically by himself, and so he has to survive. The way I describe that sounds so dull. There are lines that are just the funniest lines ever, and it's amazing how in his situation he keeps a sense of humor and still makes everything interesting. The whole time you're rooting for Watney. All you want is for Watney to survive. That's all you want out of life. This will consume you. Make sure that when you pick up this book, you have a good chunk of time. I read this on a plane in 2 hours. I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to know what happened to Mark Watney. You know, it's all I wanted out of life, and all the characters are so dynamic. They all have interests, they all have concerns, and I didn't feel like any of the characters were two-dimensional, and it's amazing because I think Andy Weir is a scientist. I think it was originally self-published in 2011 and got picked up again in 2014. There's no other way to describe this book but good. It was just an all-around good book. Entertaining, fun. If you like reading, I think you're gonna like this book. If you're at all a fan of books, read it. I think this might be my favorite book right now. It's definitely my favorite book of the year that I've read this year. I mean, not like one that came out this year, didn't come out this year. Of the books I've read this year, I think this is my favorite. I don't know if it's my favorite of all time, but it's in my top 5. I would take this book with me on a long vacation because it's that entertaining. I could just read it over and over and over again, and it would still keep me entertained. The parts that I laughed at, still funny. I reread it while I was in California. I was in California, by the way. I was visiting relatives. So I was in California, I read this on the plane ride over, and I read it again while I was there. I didn't do any other book type stuff because I couldn't. I tried to edit a video a little bit, that didn't work. I read it again, and it was amazing the second time around too. For those of you that don't want spoilers, I recommend that you leave right now because I kind of am about to spoil everything about this book. First of all, I want to talk about how amazing Mark Watney's voice is. He's, recording in a log, so he's just candidly speaking. The first line of this book is, I'm pretty much fucked. I read it and I was like, this book is gonna be amazing because the voice is already so strong. If Andy Weir manages to keep this voice up throughout the whole book, it's gonna be one of the best books ever, and he manages to keep the voice through the whole book. Mark Watney is one of my favorite people. I wish he was real so I could go meet him. All I want out of life is to be able to meet Mark Watney. Screw meeting Harry Potter and Percy Jackson right now. All I want is to go to Mark Watney, give him a hug, be like, I'm sorry you went to Mars and almost died. I just can't describe how fun Mark Watney's voice is. Fear my botany powers. I'm the king of Mars. He's just funny. And the science terminology is understandable. I'm not the biggest science person. I really, really like science. If I could choose to be a science person that understood science, I would immediately choose to be a science person that understood science because I love science. But I never understand any of it. I never understand what the frick is going on. This made it very, very easy to understand what was going on. You don't have to know anything about science to be able to get what's going on. As long as you know O2 and H2O, you probably know what those are. So, speaking of water, how the hell did he make water so easily? I'm not a science genius, like I just said. I'm pretty bad at science. But if it's so easy to make water, why don't we just make water? Why is this a problem? Do we have hydrazine? Is that a real thing? I don't even know. He seemed to make water very easily, say for the explosion. I don't understand why water is a problem. I need someone to explain this to me. Can some science person explain to me why making water is a very big problem? Mars is a barren wasteland. Mark Watney goes and grows potatoes on Mars? Is that even possible? Is this theory real that we could do this? Andy Weir, I think, is a scientist. I'm pretty sure. I'm not totally sure. I'm just too excited about this book to go look anything up. I'm assuming that a lot of this is based on scientific theory. I can't imagine that this is based completely off of just like random bullshit. Like, this has to be a real theory. Is this possible? Can we go to Mars and do this? I just want this to happen. And what the hell is with the people on Mars not immediately going to save Mark Watney faster? Mitch is the smartest goddamn guy at NASA, apparently, because Teddy can't do shit. What are you doing, Teddy, you freaking asshole? What the hell? I understand that you don't want to, like, risk 6, like, people instead of 1. That's understandable, but I'm not thinking rationally right now because all I want is for Mark Watney to live, so screw you and screw your worries and fears and go pick up Mark Watney. The entire world is watching. What do you think would happen, Teddy, if Mark Watney died on Mars? What do you think would happen? I think that the Mars missions would be shut down. I don't think anyone would be allowed to go up to Mars because someone died. People don't like dangerous things. People don't want to fund things that cause pain and sadness for other people. Except war, but let's discuss that later. That's a bigger topic. But I mean, especially for science, science is so underfunded. You have the funding right now to go up to Mars. Do you want that to stop? Do you want public support to disappear? Because that's what would happen if Mark Watney died. Go big or go home. Do you want him to starve to death? There's a low-risk option. There's a high-risk option. The low-risk option risks more people, but it's low risk. I don't understand what your concern is. And of course, everything just goes catastrophically wrong once they do launch that mission. I'm just like, oh, can Mark Watney just catch a break for 5 seconds? He's not burning all the hydrogen, and the pop-up tent airlock explodes. It's just, nothing is easy for Mark Watney, and obviously he's on Mars, and it's a book. It's not supposed to be easy, but Jesus Christ, can he just have 5 seconds to eat his goddamn potatoes? And also, disco. If I could only listen to disco, I think I would die. I would just go crazy. I think I would go crazy in general, being alone on a planet all by myself with no way to contact Earth. I am a very solitary person. I like being alone, but imagine being on a planet by yourself. Imagine how terrifying that would be. Mark is kind of an optimist. He's very determined. He's very not me. If I was stuck on Mars, I'd just be like, this is it, I'm gonna die. Let's just take a dose of morphine. But Mark is like, nah, man, I'm gonna find a way for these people to come get me, and that's why I would not go to Mars and Mark Watney went to Mars. I really liked Annie. Annie was just like, get me a picture of his face immediately. And then Venkat Kapoor, I can't pronounce his name, I'm so sorry. I couldn't figure out how to pronounce his name. I was just like, I don't know what your name is, man. I can't pronounce anything. But Venkat Kapoor is just like, if he takes his helmet off, he'll die. Like, no, we can't get a picture of his face. Everything that Earth people do is stupid. Is Mark Watney the only smart person on the planet? He's not even on the planet. He is the only smart person on Mars because he's the only person on Mars. But even by standards in general, Mark Watney is a genius. Listen to Mark Watney. What the hell are these NASA people doing? Checking Mark Watney's work? No, there aren't potatoes growing. I'm hallucinating. What the hell? There are potatoes growing. It clearly works. You don't need to check my work. But anyway, back to the crew members. That one part when it turns out that Johansson was going to eat people. Oh my god. I was like, I wouldn't even want to live at that point. I'm just like, no. People on Earth would be horrified too. Just a horrifying situation. Do people know that this might happen when they go up to space? Do they know that they might have to eat other people? I can't even physically imagine being in that situation because that sounds terrifying. I was hoping that wasn't what it was at first, but then it was, and space sounds terrifying. Deadly space, where absolutely nothing can get to you. If you scream really loudly, no one can hear you. Space scares me. It's also fascinating, but it scares me. I love when Mark Watney is rescued. He's just like, give me a second. You're the first person I've seen in like forever. Gotta give me some time. You can almost imagine what it feels like. You can't really because you haven't been isolated for that long, but it's like seeing a really old friend for the first time, and you know that feeling, and then multiply that by 1 billion, and that's probably what Mark Watney is feeling. I have one complaint and one complaint only. And I'm sorry that I even have a complaint. It was a complaint, but now it's less of a complaint. Let me explain. So on my second read through, I was just like, Mark Watney has no problems. He's just a genius. He has all the answers to all the problems. He just needs to sit and think for 5 seconds. How are you the lowest ranking crew member? Are the other people smarter? Is Lewis a god? There is no way that any of them are smarter than Watney. How in the hell is Watney the lowest ranking crew member? Why is the mechanical engineer the lowest ranking crew member? What is this? Mark Watney seemed to be amazing and all-knowing, and I'm just like, there's no conflict, but here's where I realized what the problem was. He just happened to have the skills that he needed. Some things are contingencies that they planned for. He's a mechanical engineer, he's a botanist. That works, it's just coincidence. But Mark Watney does make mistakes. He makes pretty big mistakes. He makes mistakes that could blow him up. He makes miscalculations, he makes missteps. He's not accounting for every single thing. He gets lazy, he forgets stuff. He's not omnipotent. So yeah, Mark Watney was just like the smartest person ever, but he made mistakes. It would have been a problem if he had never ever made a mistake, had never misstepped in any way. And I think I was just trying to find a reason to not like the book because it was just baffling to me that I liked it so much. And I can't believe it, but I almost ended this video without talking about this cover. This cover is beautiful. I am not a fan of photoshopped pictures of whatever. It's just a very iconic photo, and it does symbolize getting lost because he's like floating. The spine is really pretty. This is what I imagined Watney looking like. And look, it's so pretty, and look how pretty it's gonna be on my shelf. Or it's already on my shelf, but I might have to reorganize my books into color again just so I can have this in the orange section. One of my favorite books ever. I don't care if it ages. I don't care if the references go kind of out of date. I just love this book. It's gonna be one of my favorites forever, I think. And I love that the last line of the book was simply, "This is the happiest day of my life." If you like The Martian and you need somebody to talk about it with, leave comments down below because I need someone, I just need a person, I need a person that cares about this book to talk to me. I just want someone to rave about this book with. So please leave comments down below. I think I might go reread this book. Alright, bye!